Hey, you guys, this is Annie with Salttown Realty. It's the third Thursday of the month, so I'm going to interview somebody related to home buying, selling, or occupying. So this is Scott Bonin. He's a very talented electrician and woodworker and a man of many skills and trades. I met him when he came to my house working for another electric company to rewire it, and then we also went to the same gym. And so we've known each other for, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 years now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd love to start out hearing about what you do outside of electrical and woodworking, because I feel like you know a lot of different things.
Yeah, so just general overall construction processes and procedures. I help a lot of my friends kind of manage their projects as well as, do their electrical work and any other kind of odds and ends. Like mounted a TV for friends, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mentioned back east, I helped a friend of mine. He was a mechanic and would rebuild classic cars. I'd help him. Just again, I know, how tight to make a bolt, how tight, just general handy stuff. Other than that, I always say I'm not real good. I can't read, but I can turn a wrench. So
perfect. Well, I feel like it's more and more rare these days to find somebody who is capable of doing all of that house stuff and, figuring it out. So a lot of great skill sets you have there for sure.
Yeah. My brother gave me the line one time that I'm not real good with the blah blah, but I'm real good with the bzz bzz.
I feel like you need a t-shirt that says that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're good at the blah blah too, though. We've definitely gotten into conversations.
Yeah.
Like, oh, come bid this thing, and then we'll end up talking for half an hour. So you got some blah blah in you.
I got some.
Yeah. I wouldn't have invited you on the show if you didn't have me.
Thanks.
So tell the story of how you came to be an electrician. Was your dad an electrician?
Yeah, so my dad had his own business as I was growing up, and just during summer breaks and weekends, or if I had to stay home sick for the day, I got to go to work.
Yeah, some sick day.
Yeah. Actually, really funny story is my dad rewired a kind of like the Tabernacle downtown.
Oh.
So there was a place like that in New Jersey that my dad ended up rewiring when I was about 5 or 6. And then one of my first jobs as a professional electrician was to upgrade the wiring in that building after.
Oh.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, just general, again, working with my dad. And then after I got a associate's degree for outdoor recreation, I found out that that's not the best way to make money.
Not where the big bucks are.
Yeah. And fell back on doing electrical work. And then through the years, just kind of progressed from, an apprentice in New Jersey to doing some high-end security systems, wiring up medical marijuana vaults. That was a fun one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Airlocks for pharmaceutical companies, really intricate stuff based off relays and low voltage wiring.
Wow.
And really enjoyed it. And now I have my master's license and my contractor's license, and decided that with 2 little kids, it's easier to be on my own and get to pick and choose the jobs and when I work, and the pay bump was pretty nice too. So
yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I love that. I want to get into what you kind of specialize in now, but I want to go back to the place that your dad wired and you rewired. Did you find any mistakes?
Oof. So back to the next question. No, it was just general upgrading, like lighting and stuff like that. Yeah, just over time things change, and they got a new organ, for instance, that needed a bigger service. So, which for people watching that want to nerd out, organs have their own chapter in the National Electric Code. There is a very specific way that those need to be wired, and I I did not get to actually wire the organ. I just had to run like a new circuit
Yeah.
to it. And but yeah, there are guys that only wire organs. Like that's
Wow.
their only job is to wire organs because they're very intricate.
I bet that those people are aging, and I wonder how many like new young people are getting into that field. That's super interesting.
There's a huge gap in electricians between the ages of like 55 and 25.
Yeah.
There's very
Yeah.
few 40-year-old electricians
Interesting.
around.
Huh. Yeah. Oh, that's really
So,
cool. The one I always think of, this is totally off topic. I told you I would get off topic, is
oh, no
my
worries.
my grandfather remodeled a model. It's not a Model T. I'm just blanking right now because that's not what I was thinking of. And he had a guy come out, and this was a pretty old guy who drew the lines on it,
Mm-hmm.
and he just came in. My grandfather said he just came in with like a little jar of paint and a little tiny paintbrush and just didn't measure, didn't do anything, just drew them. And those lines look like they were made by a machine.
Yeah.
And I went, that's probably there's just like a lot of fields that are probably just dying. So that's
Yeah.
just an aside.
Yeah. Right now, I'm doing some work and working with a 23-year-old kid through a friend of mine. My friend and I kind of partnered up on a job. He has his own business, but is one of his apprentices. Like, it's so great to see and to spread the knowledge, just like the little things too, of like, oh, you should carry this in your tool belt, or this is the way you want to do this. And it's like, I beat my head against the wall for 25 years trying to figure it out. Like, there's no reason for you to do that.
Yeah.
Like I've already figured it
Yeah.
out. So it's
No.
it's one of my favorite things is definitely passing that knowledge on.
Yeah, I love that. I've just recently, in the past year, started teaching a lot more in real estate because I'm 8 years in,
Yeah.
and I'm seen as that kind of seasoned agent now. And yeah, teaching first-time agents how to do things, and I had a lot of great training in that way too. But it feels really good to kind of like pass that info
Yeah.
on. Okay, so we'll go back to. Although I want to talk more about this organ thing. No, but what do you specialize now in like one of the reasons that I love having you as an electrician is because there's like no job too small, right? But is there anything in particular that you like prefer to do or that you specialize in?
So just in Salt Lake in general, the 15 years that I've been working here, I have done, I don't know, probably a couple thousand knob and tube rewires.
Oh wow.
So, and one of the things that I've come to be really good at is refishing wires and stuff like that, where I can, pretty much, if you have an open attic, I can pretty much rewire an entire house with no damage to the walls.
Oh wow.
There's a lot of guys that I follow up, bigger companies that will not rewire a house unless you gut it.
Yeah.
Like pull all the sheetrock down or release the ceiling down and the insulation. And yeah, that's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, fishing is something I've gotten really good at, running wires through finished walls. The thing I feel I excel at is troubleshooting.
Okay.
I'm really good at troubleshooting. That's what I did mostly back east, was for those complex card access systems, stuff like that. It's just a lot of troubleshooting. And yeah, there's no job's definitely too small for me. I've had to decline a couple jobs just because there are like crews running, framers and stuff like that. And I'm just want to be my own boss and my own employee. I don't want to hire employees right now.
Yeah.
So it's just hard for one person, even as efficient as I am, to keep up with something like a new construction house.
Yeah.
There's no way I can keep up with that myself. So
just being the team.
Yeah, but I really enjoy our relationship, our professional relationship, where you can send me inspection reports and I can do the upgrades for the electrical, like that kind of stuff. I love doing that. And it's nice to also give peace of mind to people that are young people that are buying houses, or anybody buying a house. um, I see a lot of problems, like looking at houses where they're like, oh, there's this and this. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
is there?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I really enjoy giving that peace of mind to customers where they know that they're getting a decent electrical system.
Yeah. I know anytime I've had clients, in fact, I just ran into some the other day that they were like, oh my gosh, it turned out that that one room with that one weird plug, it was this whole thing. And so, yeah, we had this company come in and like rewire the whole house and they ripped up all, and I was like, bro, like you have my number, like please
Yeah,
call me for that stuff. And I was like, and you don't have to hire my guy, but at the very least he can come in there and tell you if the other guy's pulling your leg or not. Like, did that whole house have to be rewired? Did it have to be torn up? Now it had a flat roof, so like it's possible that it really was a situation like that. And
hmm,
and he works with a lot of contractors, and so he's like, I know how to talk to these guys and da da da. But I'm always like, I can't stress enough to my clients of like, just call me. I've got great people on hand that I know and trust, and at the very least, you can get a second opinion from somebody. And maybe he doesn't want the work or whatever. And you've been so awesome about that, like with those inspection reports and doing little jobs, and like the shout out to troubleshooting just the other day. Like, I think I'm a pretty clever broad, and I've done like a fair amount of electrical work
yeah, for
myself. I've
sure.
added plugs and stuff, and I had this weird thing in my house, and I went up and downstairs, back and forth, and all this stuff, and couldn't figure it out. And you came over and figured it out for me. And so, yeah,
Yeah, I think a lot of what I've noticed is a lot of electricians forget that there was some idiot before them. So,
I
like,
don't know how they could. Yeah,
um, yeah. So to your point of like getting a second opinion, I followed a company. I don't want to name
yeah.
names. I followed a company that offered to do an entire service upgrade, panel change, and stuff because this 85-year-old lady had been running her 70-year-old furnace nonstop because it was a couple years ago when we had a really cold winter,
Hmm.
and she had just been running her furnace nonstop and ended up blowing the breaker, and the breaker was like 70 years old. And yeah, should the panel have been replaced? Of course. She's 85. Does she need to, like, no, you put the
Yeah,
$20 breaker in and you leave your sticker on the panel for the next people.
yeah,
Like, there's no reason that she needed to do a $5,000 service upgrade just
yeah,
because her furnace stopped
yeah,
working. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So yeah,
That's what I.
no
Sorry.
need to get rich. No, I have no need to get rich.
Yeah. That's what I liked about your old boss, actually. He was one of the first people, I had that house rewired, and I knew on some level that it had that old rag wire. So it was two wire without a ground. But I knew that someday I was going to probably rent it or sell it, and people were going to be looking for, all Romex through a house, because there are so many home inspectors that go out and put the fear of God in people for that rag wire. And I'm
No.
like, okay, A, it's been there a long time and it hasn't blown up yet. Like, what's going to change? Now, if I have a client, like, speaking of the organs and music, like, I had a client a handful of years ago that was really into music, like, and
Hmm.
recording music, like, kind of like techno stuff, not necessarily even instruments. And if he was operating off of an ungrounded outlet, it would create a buzz in the music.
Hmm.
You probably know all about that sort of stuff. For so him, he had high electrical needs and specific needs, by all means, Romex. But I feel like a lot of times it's like this fear of God for old wiring. And, that's why I like to work with electricians that I really trust. Like your old boss came into the house and I had just given him like $8,000 or something. And he goes, yeah, everybody's scared of that old rag wire. I think it's fine. You don't really need to replace it. And I'm like, okay, a little bedside manner. I just gave you $8,000. Please tell me that I didn't make like a really stupid choice. Like, I get that, but also like, come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
So,
So in my opinion, this is, in the early 2000s, late 90s,
mhm,
like that is when our power consumption
yeah,
spiked. Like refrigerators were drawing like 7 or 8 amps.
okay,
So, and then now with like even super high end Sub-Zero Wolf refrigerators, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Those things draw on like 2 amps,
Oh,
you know?
interesting. Huh.
Yeah. So, so yeah, what you're saying is our power consumption is going down. Everything's based on the amount of power that something can handle due to the amount of heat that the electricity generates.
Okay.
So with more power comes more heat. And
yeah,
as we're decreasing our power consumption, now instead of 90-watt light bulbs throughout the house, which is what I was installing when I first started working for that guy, we are now installing 6-watt light bulbs everywhere.
Yeah.
So we have decreased our power consumption, like just in lighting loads alone, we've decreased our power consumption by almost like 90%. And then,
that is so interesting. Yeah, of course. Like, of course.
And now, how many people do you see plug in vacuums anymore? That was another huge load. You know, vacuums are pulling. I remember the old Kirby's that my mom bought when I was like 10 or 12, right? The door-to-door salesman, right? With the Kirby vacuum. Thing weighed like 1,700 pounds. I had to carry it around for my mom. And those things were pulling like 15 amps, 20 amps. And it's like you couldn't watch the lights flicker, you know? And now everyone's like, oh, don't forget to put an outlet in for the
Dyson
in the closet so that we can, you know, plug our rechargeable vacuum in. So your vacuum's not even pulling power out of the outlet anymore. So it's, you know, so
I love that perspective. Yeah,
our power consumption is going down so much. And yes, it has been there for, you know, 70 years now. And we have ways around it too that are not super inexpensive, but a lot cheaper than paying somebody to rewire your house. We have ways to monitor that and to deal with the arc current. And, you know, I just talked to a friend of mine today, shout out to Epic Electric. I've been dealing a lot with Josh over at Epic Electric, and I'll tell you, it's been really a pleasure to bounce ideas off of him. And, you know, because that's the downside to being on my own now, is I don't have someone to bounce ideas off of. And so it's nice that I have a community now that I can do that. Yeah. And so yeah, they have arc fault breakers that will help reduce the risk of fire by up to like 70%. They're kind of annoying because they trip a lot, but they're also going to trip before a fire. So pick and choose, right?
Pick your poison.
Yeah.
Okay, I know you didn't want to talk about electrical this whole time, so let's get into the woodworking.
Yes.
So Scott's also a very talented woodworker, and you're trying to make your way. So tell us about the woodworking. Like, when did you start doing that? What kind of things do you make? What makes you passionate about it?
So with the woodworking, you know, it's something that I've always done, kind of like on the back burner, something I've always like, it's peace of mind for me. It's the way I unwind, you know. I never really had a place to do it. I've always had, so when I first moved to Utah, we had a 4-bedroom house with 8 guys.
Wow.
So Ross Miller, you know Ross.
Oh, no way.
And Dave Greenwell.
I know Dave too.
Those guys. Yep.
I interviewed Dave on this show.
Yeah. Dave was living in a tent in my backyard for like 4 years.
How far we've all come.
Right. So now we all have like, you know, a couple houses, and like we're all clean cut. So I never really had a space to do the stuff that I really wanted to do. And then my wife and I bought our first house over in Rose Park, and one of the reasons we bought it was it had a 2-car garage with a shop attached to it.
Awesome.
And then I got to really start cranking out work. I made us a queen-size bed that had 24-inch deep, like watt-long drawers, and then they were 12 inches, 13 inches tall. Wow. And one thing I'm really proud about with that is, as an electrician, you're always trying to line up the outlets and the switches and the sconces for reading lights with the bed, so that they're within reach, but not too close, or, not off center and stuff. So I actually made the headboard big enough to incorporate the lights and the switches and the plugs in, so that no matter what, like those things were attached to the bed. So no matter what, they were in the right position.
Yeah.
And then you would just plug the whole bed in.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's one thing I'm really proud about and I love combining the two. I love combining the electrical with the woodworking. I feel like that's a rare thing. I just did that for another customer where we put lights in to their built-in bookshelf in their living room, and it's really nice that because I have seen some hokey stuff. So it's really, I feel really confident in the work that I did and the electrical work, and I know that she got a good product. So that's really nice.
That's so cool. Yeah. I keep envisioning like a, built-in kind of mudroom space. Yeah. With like light switches and plugs and drawers and all the things. Like you would just be like the perfect person for that. Cause I truly have not known somebody who kind of combined both things. Like you call the carpenter, but then you also have to call your electrician if you want to have that built-in lighting or whatever. So it's such a cool thing.
And a friend of mine asked me to build her this was probably about 5 years ago, to build, she had a baby and needed like a pretty sturdy kitchen table, dining room table. So I built her a farmhouse table. And then that kind of just sparked it off. And, with my kids getting older, or, young kids at home, that kind of thing, there were a couple days where my wife had meetings all day and couldn't get out of them, and then I had a 12,000 square foot office building shut down on power and had to be there all day, and we have 6 kids, and my wife is from Santa Fe, so her parents still live there, and my parents live in Maine, and like, what do? We can't. So again, being able to be home in the shop and make money that way, doing something that I'm super passionate about, and be able to like have a sick kid on the couch with just the door to the garage open, a lot more beneficial for me. So
that's awesome. Well, I was going to ask you what your favorite thing that you've built was, but you just named some great examples. Anything else you want to, like or maybe your favorite project, like if somebody, like your dream phone call of somebody being like, hey, I have this thing I want to do. Like, what does that look like for you?
Well, actually, I just got that the other day. So
okay, perfect.
I can tell you. So my dream project is for someone to call me and say, I need this. So this was a dining room table, and they live in Rose Park with a very, very small, I think their house is maybe 1,200 square feet. And the kitchen, is in the back of the house, and it's got the stairwell between the kitchen and the living room. So it's not like they can expand the kitchen. So they have this little galley kitchen. And they said, I really like your work, and I would like you to design me a kitchen table with a built-in bench to fit this space.
Yeah.
And I gave them a couple ideas, and they signed off on a couple, and then I came up with something else and talked to them. They're like, honestly, you just do whatever you want within that budget. And
I love that.
Yeah, so they're gonna get, I mean, that, that comment of, I just want something that you have designed and I appreciate your work.
Yeah.
Just bought them a really nice table. So,
flattery will get you everywhere.
Yeah, flattery will get you everywhere. I am not. So that table is going to be really awesome. We're actually going to do, I have a whole flitch of a hemlock, or not a hemlock, sorry, an Siberian elm tree. So a flitch is a whole tree that's cut up and restacked in order. So I'm going to take like number 6 and number 5 and kind of spoon them next to each other, stitch them together with some bow ties.
Okay.
The live edge will be in the middle, and it will have like a traditional Japanese trestle base that will also be knocked down.
Wow. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, I'm super stoked on that.
Yeah. And you do post a lot of your work on Instagram, so if anybody's watching, definitely give that a follow.
Yep.
Do you have a website or anything as
I
well?
do have a website. It's just Tomrar Woodworks at,
Okay.
so just Tomrar Woodworks at, not at Gmail, that's my email. TomrarWoodworks.com.
Okay.
So pretty much everything is Tomrar Woodworks.
Okay.
My wife came up with the name.
Okay.
So, and my electrical company is Elding Electric. So both are Norse words. Tomrar is Norse for carpenter.
Oh, cool.
And then Elding is Norse for lightning.
Okay.
So,
perfect.
yeah.
Our little advertisement, my assistant came up with currents and crafts, which I thought was really cute too. I was like,
thought that was awesome.
I know. I
thought
like,
the post was amazing.
Yeah.
Shout out to them. They crushed it.
Yeah, he's really talented. I'm super lucky to have him. So,
yeah.
Well, I won't take up any more of your time, but I really appreciate you joining me on here, and hopefully people can get inspired for their woodworking and electrical combo ideas for their homes. So,
same thing with the woodworking too. I know you and I have talked about like a little lap desk and stuff like that. I really love doing small projects. You know, it doesn't need to be too big. So by all means, reach out to me for anything. If you have any questions or advice, you need advice on electrical.
Yep.
So,
you know, I
woodworking.
Always do. In fact, I think I sent your number to somebody today.
Awesome.
Today or yesterday. So yeah, you're my guy for sure. So
appreciate it.
Cool. Well, thanks again. Appreciate you coming on here. And sorry I was late and that I got kicked off and all the things. So thanks for your patience.
No worries. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.